Happy Death Day. Spoilers ahead.
The film opens as the ringer rings at Bayfield University on Monday the 18th. Teresa Gelman awakens hungover on her birthday in the apartment of classmate Carter Davis. She overlooks a call from her dad. Subsequent to requesting Tylenol, Tree begins to take off and sees Carter's flatmate Ryan coming in and inquiring as to whether he laid down with her, to her nausea and Carter's humiliation. While heading to her own room, Tree runs into a person she went out with named Tim. He asks Tree for what reason she hasn't addressed his texts, and she says in light of the fact that their one date included them going to tram and it made her hopeless. Tree goes to her room and sees her flatmate Lori Spengler. Tree acknowledges she is late for class and wildly prepares. Lori then, at that point, gives her a cupcake she heated for Tree. Tree extinguishes the candle and dumps the cupcake in the rubbish as a result of the carbs.
Scratch. Sorry, too many carbs.
Tree goes to her class and later meets with her teacher, Gregory Stewart. The two are engaging in extramarital relations notwithstanding Gregory being hitched. His wife Stephanie is at the entryway after Tree kept it moved. Tree joins her sorority sisters during lunch for a gathering regarding a spring dance. The head sister, Danielle Bousman, berates another sister, Becky, for carrying low-quality food to eat. Becky gets up to leave and catches Carter, causing Becky to spill her food all over Tree. Carter attempts to return Tree some adornments she abandoned, yet Tree pulls him to the side to continue to conceal the way that she dozed in his room. Danielle invites Tree to a party at a dorm sometime thereafter. Tree heads through the grounds alone and passes a gathering of folks wearing the school's games group stock. They're the infants. As she heads past a scaffold, she hears a music box. Tree heads toward Get the Crate and sees somebody with a child cover standing a couple of feet before her. She takes steps to call the police, and the individual runs. Tree begins to leave yet is then pursued by the veiled individual. They in the end get Tree and cut her to death. Tree awakens in Carter's room toward the start of that very day. Obviously went crazy and confounded, she leaves the room and thinks she is going through this feels familiar. Yet again she goes to her room and rejects Lori's cupcake, yet this time simply leaves it as opposed to unloading it. Stephanie gets her in Gregory's office after it's been locked. During lunch, Tree cautions Becky before Carter catches her, however exactly the same things actually occur. Tree makes a beeline for the party once more, yet this time evades the extension. She goes to the residence and is welcomed by somebody with the child cover, making her shout and smack the individual directly upside the head. It ends up being Nick, Danielle's sweetheart. It's an impromptu get-together for Tree. She circumvents drinking and attempting to have a ball. She goes up to Nick's room where he plays with a Tad. Be that as it may, the genuine executioner appears in the room and cuts Nick to death. At the point when she's not looking, Tree gets a text from Danielle, blaming her for connecting with Nick despite her good faith, and inferring it's occurred previously. Tree is gone after by the executioner, who takes her out with a messed up wrong piece. Tree awakens in Carter's room once more. She's significantly more blown a gasket this time. She hurries to her room and lets Lori know that somebody is after her. Lori quiets her down and proposes she go home for the day and loosen up in her room. Tree secures the room and sets up sheets to keep anybody from getting in. Soon thereafter, the executioner breaks in at any rate. Tree fends the executioner off yet is as yet wounded to death. Subsequent to going through exactly the same things once more, Tree makes sense of her circumstance for Carter, who is naturally confounded. He recommends that she thin down her rundown of suspects until she can figure out who the executioner is. Carter figures the executioner might be explicitly focusing on Tree on her birthday, and that implies everybody at school is a suspect since Danielle informed everybody concerning the impromptu get-together. Tree goes through a few circles as she pursues her suspects. She initially pursues Tim, yet gets him in his room checking gay pornography out. Subsequent to biting the dust once more, she thinks Stephanie, yet she spots Stephanie minutes before the executioner suffocates her. She thinks Danielle yet winds up kicking the bucket on her own after the two get into a battle and they get hit by a transport. In the wake of check off those names, Tree suspects Gregory may be the executioner. She searches for him in the emergency clinic subsequent to getting an X-beam taken to find that she has supported inner harm from her past passings. While going through Gregory's office, Tree finds a child cover in his cabinet. Be that as it may, the executioner wounds Gregory and afterward pursues Tree into the parking area. She takes a vehicle and gets out. As she energetically suspects she got away from death, a cop pulls her over for speeding. Tree lies and says she's alcoholic and high with the goal that she can be in a cell and stay away from the executioner. At the point when she's bound and placed toward the rear of the vehicle, the executioner drives past and raises a ruckus around town. The fuel tank begins spilling, so the executioner drops a birthday light to light the fuel and explode Tree. Once more Tree awakens in Carter's room. She demonstrates she knows what will occur by bringing up certain things that she's been seeing much of the time, similar to a vehicle caution going off, sprinklers being set off on concentrating on understudies, and a gathering of activists standing together while one part drops to the ground. Tree and Carter race to the medical clinic to stop Tomb Chambers, however he has previously killed the safety officer and gotten away. Tree gets a fire hatchet and attempts to run from Tomb Chambers. Carter safeguards Tree, however Tomb Places snaps his neck. Tree figures out how to weaken Tomb Places, yet understands that assuming she prevails with regards to halting the circles, Carter will remain dead. She hurries to the highest point of the chime tower before Tomb Chambers can get her, and she hangs herself, promising to find Tomb Chambers soon. Tree begins the new circle with more certain energy. She welcomes Carter energetically, cautions the understudies about the sprinklers, and is agreeable to Lori when she goes to her room. At the point when Tim approaches her, she compassionately lets him know she realizes he could do without young ladies and that he ought to be allowed to adore who he truly cares about. Tree goes to Gregory's group and intrudes on his talk to haul him out and reprimand him she is breaking things among them, and that she's dropped his class. During the lunch meeting, Tree, in spite of the fact that Danielle attempts to send Becky away, Tree doesn't let her leave, and on second thought takes Becky's chocolate milk to pour on Danielle's head, embarrassing her. Carter then, at that point, drops by to return Tree's gems, and she kisses him before different sisters. She then, at that point, welcomes Carter to join her soon thereafter for her birthday. Tree goes to eat with her father David. She owns up to him that it's been difficult to associate with him since her mom passed on, yet she says she cherishes him and is upset for harming him. The two then, at that point, snicker to ease up the mindset and they eat. Tree sets herself up to pursue Tomb Chambers. She goes up to the safety officer with a blade and takes his firearm prior to advising him to go get reinforcement. Tree then, at that point, strolls into Tomb Chambers' room and goes for the gold him as he claims to be snoozing. She attempts to shoot him yet she neglected to take the well-being off. Tomb Places gets up and battles Tree, mercilessly pummeling her against the wall. Tree then, at that point, recalls that a short power outage should happen, which occurs at the right second for her to get away from Tomb Chambers' view. She shows up behind him and takes the security off, permitting her to shoot Tomb Chambers dead. Tree and Carter use whatever is left of the night together, and she eats the cupcake Lori made her after she blows it out and makes a wish. Tree awakens again in Carter's room. The birthday ringtone plays. It's still Monday the 18th. She becomes confounded and furious, thinking about how she might in any case be trapped in the know. She rushes to her space to find Lori, who offers her the cupcake once more. Tree declines it and says she ate it the night before, and then it hits her. She passed on in her rest, which is on the grounds that the cupcake was harmed from the start. She never ate the cupcake whenever, so she understands Lori was the executioner the entire time. Since she works at the clinic, Lori had the option to release Burial Chambers and make it appear as though he killed Tree because of his set of experiences. To effectively express the idea considerably further, Tree finds the child cover in Lori's work area. Tree attempts to cause Lori to eat the cupcake and even takes steps to carry it to the police. Lori confesses all and says this was all in light of the fact that a person she loves was more into Tree, which Tree believes is a moronic rationale, as well as Lori saying Tree's a imbecilic bitch. The two beginning battling as Lori attempts to polish Tree off for good. They are interfered with by Danielle from outside the room as Tree then hops up and gets the roof light so she can throw Lori through the window to her demise. Tree awakens and hears the birthday ringtone once more. Carter behaves like she's simply awakening hungover once more. Tree begins to go crazy, until Carter uncovers he was simply tricking her and it's formally Tuesday the 19th. They giggle about it and throw Ryan out when he attempts to return inside before they begin kissing. Tree and Carter are in a coffee shop watching the news report on the episode, with Danielle doing a meeting only for the exposure. Carter begins to let Tree know what is going on helps him to remember Groundhog Day, however she's never known about it or Bill Murray.